Thank you so much, and it's so wonderful to be back in Florida, although I find myself here fairly frequently because I still have family on the East Coast. In fact, all the family except for my 4 children and husband are on the East Coast. So we're the Western outpost. And yes, these are the children who made Lenny have to censor his his reading just a bit, which I'm used to when I select. I'm used to doing that when I select what I might read for if they're going to be there. But I don't get to have them here that much when I read, so it's nice to have them here today. So, thank you, Lenny, for arranging this, and also for asking me for poems for the South Florida Poetry Journal, which is how we reconnected. And I thought, oh, but I live in Albuquerque now, but really I'm a Floridian because all my roots are here and everything. And he said, well, it doesn't matter. And in fact, one of the poems that you all took was about, it was based in New Mexico even, so I thought that was nice. I think I'm going to read some old and some new today, and I thought I might open with a poem. It's a poem from a Miami poem, I might say, about a lizard that lived in my mailbox. And so it was something, basically every time I got the mail, I had a little. Anyone have that feeling about lizards? You like them, but you kind of don't want them running up your arm, when you're trying to get the mail. So. Let's see, so this is at the mailbox. The first few times we met, our hearts would rise. You must have thought that I had no excuse, since I'm over 1,000 times your size. But ever since my brother introduced the two of us and showed his sibling love by catching you to put you in my hair, I've had the kind that lizards can't get out of. Now I tap the box to let you know I'm there, a ritual we both appreciate. Between my much-awaited mail, you leave your gifts. What would I do if every day my little house would open and receive a mountain where my living room once stood? I'd move. At least, I like to think I would. And one other I might share from Echolocations. This is a poem that just... There are a couple of poems of mine that have become kind of almost like signature pieces in a way, and this is one of them. I thought I might read it today because my daughters are 11 and 12, and in this poem it's a choice I made when I was 12, and it's called Memento Mori in Middle School, and it's kind of about a project I did when I was in middle school, although it took me, 25 years, to write the poem, later. But it was this memory, based on a memory, and it's meant to be kind of a lighter poem, but I think it has a definite duality of tone because it has a very serious underpinning, as you'll notice through the poem. I mean, you're writing about Dante, you can't really keep it that light, right? So there's one little reference in here in Miglior Fabbro, the better craftsman, Dante's term for Daniel Arnaud. So I think the rest is pretty, you can travel with me through the circles of hell here. And I've been doing a lot of class projects, as you might imagine, with my kids, so sometimes this comes back to me now, more projects I did when I was that age. So Memento Mori in middle school. When I was 12, I chose Dante's Inferno in gifted class, an oral presentation with visual aids. My brother, Il Miglior Fabbro, said he would draw the tortures. We used 10 red poster boards. That day for school, I dressed in pilgrim black, left earlier to hang them around the class. The students were impressed, the teacher too. She acted quite amused and peered too long at all the punishments. We knew by reputation she was cruel. The class could see a hint of twisted forms and asked to be allowed to round the room as I went through my final presentation. We passed the first one, full of poets cut out of a special issue of Horizon. The class thought these were such a boring set, they probably deserved their tedious fates. They liked the next, though, the bodies blown about, the lovers kept outside the tinfoil gates. We had a new boy in our class named Paolo, and when I noted Paolo's windblown state and pointed out Francesca, people howled. I knew that more than one of us, not so covertly, liked him. It seemed like hours before we moved on to the gluttons, though, where they could hold the cool fistfuls of slime I brought from home, an extra touch, It's sold in canisters at toy stores at the time. The students recognized the river Styx, the logo of a favorite band of mine. We moved downriver to the town of Dis, which someone loudly renamed Dis and Dad, and for the looming harpies and the furies who shrieked and tore things up, I had clipped out the shrillest, most deserving teachers' heads from our school paper, then fought that road. At the wood of suicides we quieted, but no one in the room would say a word. I know we couldn't help but think of Fred. His name was in the news, though we had heard he might have just been playing with the gun. We moved on quickly by that huge, dark bird and rode the flying monster, Geryon, to reach the counselors, each wicked face again I had resisted pasting in. To represent the ice in that last place where Satan chewed the traitors' frozen heads, my mother had insisted that I take an ice chest full of popsicles to end my gruesome project on a lighter note. It is a comedy, isn't it, she said. She hadn't read the poem or seen our art, but asked me what had happened to the sweet, angelic poems I once read and wrote. The class, though, was delighted by the treat, and at the last round, they all pushed to choose their colors quickly so they wouldn't melt. The bell rang. Everyone ran out of school, as always yelling at the top of their lungs. The Inferno fast forgotten, but their howls showed off their darkened red and purple tongues. So I promised my kids I would read them a lightning poem because they make fun of me because I'm afraid of lightning. Because I grew up in Florida. so when it's I'm like, get inside. But so I actually have a poem, Lightning Rod. And I thought, maybe I'll read this poem. Although whenever anyone else happens to mention their lightning story, I'm always like, come on, listen to this. Because it's a serious thing. It's a serious thing here. So, and especially when you're trying to herd your cats, away from the lightning. So, so this is a poem, Lightning Rod, from the other book, from Resistance Fantasies. This is like, it's another Miami poem. Lightning Rod. Why is it, after all these years, a rain like this still brings a breathless gasp? Even in these first streaks that flash the memory of those afternoons, racing against another storm, already soaked to the skin, biking home over 3 bridges, keenly aware as I crossed each one of my body as the tallest thing around. That 3rd bridge, always the hardest, pushing the pedals to outrun the lightning, pushing the envelope to get home. My mind filling with a charged memory of my brother teasing, stick out your tongue, and touching a battery or a live wire to my trusting offering. How I let that happen more than once is still beyond me. In some things I was quick to learn, but not trust. I wanted so much to trust. But I never could grasp the suddenness of storms. The next one always caught me out, and then I'd have to ride it through, crouching low, my chin to the handlebars, as if those inches would mean the difference. I wondered if my mother knew her daughter had grown into a lightning rod. Nothing could get me used to those Florida storms, the sky darkening abruptly like a shutter closing, or like a bruise, to be more honest about the past, and that sharp electric burn, the thunder following so fast, so close to home, but still I'd race it anyway. I'd never learn. I'll read one more, and then I'll read some newer stuff that's not in any book. This one is, I was trying to share a translation, and then I thought, well, I could read that from the Greek or that from the Spanish, and then I thought I would read a poem which is about the process of translating and my relationship with translation. So it's Lost in Translation. And it has a lot of lines in other languages, but they're all translated within the poem. So if you listen carefully, everything is translated within the poems. Lost in Translation. My childhood was filled with untranslatable points of view, the way the child came under the wheels. Das Kind kam unter die Räder. When the child was run over, it was her fault. Did it have something to do with the order of things? Children are disorder. They run under wheels like lizards. Even the signs on the trains as we traveled through my father's country reminded us how much was expressly verboten, how much our tongues divide us. What was not my mother's cup of tea was not my father's beer. Das ist nicht mein Bier, he'd always say. Traveling into each new lexicon is to inhabit a new country, map its pathways into the mind. Every language a labyrinth, weaving more than words, but a cultural psyche sorting the grains in the syntax. In Russia, they lock the doors not to let thieves in, while America keeps thieves out. In Colombia, I learned that fear doesn't ride on a burro. El miedo no anda en burro. Fear hath wings, and the reason given for so many things is por sus pistolas, for your pistols, just because. Pushing through a thick net of language all my life, trying to find some way out from under the wheels, always on the shore of another culture, even in this ancient bond marriage, searching for the words I'd need to make my way in that new country, only to be told there simply is no word in Greek for privacy, only secrecy or loneliness. And that's true. There is no word for privacy. As I was chatting with them on the way, they're like, really? How can this be? Well, I'll explain it further later. So, I thought I might share a few poems. These are sort of some newer poems. This one is a poem that a lot of the work I've been doing, you might imagine, has to do with family and children and so on. And this one is called The First C, and it's about the really the acquisition of language and buried memories and what language does to memory. So I'll just read it. The First C. The children are sorting the world of dreams and speak of them in the morning, beginning to tell the real from shadow. The storyline blurred, the edge of sleep, and the wake of yet another storm. We chart the world every time we speak. I wish I could tell them there are no monsters in the deep, but that is exactly where to find them, in the fears swimming deep inside the cells of our bodies, or spiraling one around another. The mind a sail, the bed a vessel ready to transform, a pirate ship, a submarine, the belly of a whale. With each new word they learn, one more memory will sink beneath the waves. Like swimming in that first sea that grew smaller and smaller as they already found ways to comfort themselves. On any morning, I find my daughter has traveled to yet another country, speaks a different language. Every dawn, her world is new. She dreams the same dreams I do. She may be falling, running, or unable to run when she needs to. I can't protect her there. We grow further away all our lives. Language drifts us from those early waters, and our stories, long submerged, swim up years later. So many of these moments, each a small Atlantis, will be covered by the sea as language takes over, relegates the rest to dream. And I've been working on a series of poems that are, how should I describe these? These are, well, my working title is short subjects with long titles. So maybe just short subjects. And these are little epigrammatic poems. I have a series of, a few dozen or so, actually, maybe a few more than that by now. And, but they have a long title that sets the scene, and then the poem is actually something that my children said when they were younger. So some little kernel of, a beautiful poem captured at that moment. So I'll read just a few of these, and a lot of them relate to time and space and art and language and literature. So they're sort of, you'll see some of those a little bit in there. And again, I'll just read a few of those, like maybe 4 or 5 of those. Short subjects with long titles. 3-year-old Christabel, on her mother asking, "What are you girls talking about in the middle of the night?" "It's not the middle. We're talking in the back of the night." 6-year-old Alexander explains irony to 5-year-old Arya. After Arya's yelling wakes the baby up, and their mother and their parents say, "Thank you, Arya." And Arya answers cheerfully, "You're welcome." Arya, "They don't mean thank you. They mean you did something bad. It's another way of saying that." The children measuring the world by idiom and a few arms. How far away is arm's length? How far away is that? How long an arm? Their arm? Your arm? Or both? The morning after our visit to the Museo del Prado in Madrid, 5-year-old Dylan, where 5-year-old Dylan was fascinated by the monstrous figures in Hieronymus Bosch's Garden of Earthly Delights. Last night I dreamt about monsters. Good thing I like monsters. And there's a closing one. Arya, who would love to tell stories. You know how every kid loves to be told stories? Arya would also like to tell them. 4-year-old Arya, during our nightly ritual of poems, stories, song, and come back for a secret, and another story, as she puts it, from her brain, on being asked by her tired mother to make it a very short story tonight. Arya was walking through the forest. No animals. The end. So that's a little piece of flash fiction. So I think I'll close with the 2 poems that are in the new South Florida poetry, in the new issue of the South Florida Poetry Journal. One is a Miami poem, and one is a New Mexico poem. So this is Swamp Roses. Yeah, you can say Swamp Roses and Haiku Petroglyphs. Can you guess which is Miami? Swamp Roses. People down here want to make roses grow. Trying new rounds of chemistry, every kind of poison or solution you can devise to make them bloom uniform, cultivate them for a prize. While the swamp roses come up wild and the hyacinth floats on the surface of streams, with the blue forget-me-nots, branches uncoiling as the flowers do. Find me here instead, something that grows unforgettably blue. The tiny wild garden you can see, growing in the crevices of rocks, or traveling like water down the river. And I will close with haiku petroglyphs. I'll pause between each haiku, even though the poem is one long poem. Haiku petroglyphs. One winter morning, down Paseo del Volcan, trying not to speed. Too quickly past ghosts of others who have traveled, scribbling petroglyphs on the face of rock, exposed like an expression of dormant stirring. Edges of rifting, deep faults where volcanoes formed the cinder canvas. Sisters separate nod to each other across the ruptured timelines. Scrawled within ourselves, stick figures remembering, writing one story. Thank you.